Welcome to the TLW podcast. Jonathan Pixley here with my partner, Dr. Sean Owens. Sean, as always, it's a pleasure.
Pleasure to be here, Coach. Let's have some fun.
We have another amazing guest lined up, and I will do the honor of introducing her, even though she's kind of nervous about this because she thinks I tend to try to make her sound better than she is, even though that's not possible. Donna Pixley is our guest today. Obviously, she is, let me take that back. I was fixing to say she is my wife, but I am her husband, okay? And she is one of the most successful coaches in any sport in Louisiana history and has had an amazing, amazing career. Also, and more importantly, is an amazing mother of two daughters and has had incredible influence over so many young female athletes over the course of, what are we talking, 25 years now at this point?
I've been coaching for 35.
Okay, so 35 years. But in Louisiana, you started in 1998. And so has been influencing athletes, influencing young ladies, and built an amazing volleyball club called Red Storm Volleyball, which we're going to get into. And so, Donna, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We're excited. Coming from Tampa, Florida, where she grew up, and I'm just going to give a little background on her for our viewers here. She was an outstanding high school volleyball player and basketball player as well, by the way, had scholarship offers in basketball, and then went to Samford University and was a Division I setter, had over 4,000 assists as a setter. That's where we met as well while I was playing basketball there. And then transitioned into the coaching world after that, where she has won 2 state championships and probably has a few more coming her way. She recently took the head coaching job at St. Joseph's Academy here in Baton Rouge as well, and is looking to get that program headed in the right direction for sure. And along the way has a national championship. I believe she's one of 3 people in the history of Louisiana volleyball to have a state championship and a national championship, the national championship coming in club volleyball years ago. And again, has led the Red Storm Volleyball Club since 2004, if I remember correctly, so 21 years of that. Had her largest club this year from a standpoint of the number of teams. And so that's a little background on her. I've left a lot out. And because we need to let her talk as our guest. So again, welcome to the podcast, and let's go back in time a little bit here. You moved to Baton Rouge for some numbskull that you decided you wanted to marry, which was a mistake back then, probably a bigger mistake now, but I'll take it for sure. And you don't know anybody. You move here, again, literally because of our relationship, and you say, you know what, I'm going to get this thing figured out. Okay, what was it like when you moved here? First of all, so our viewers can understand, what was the transition that you felt like you had to make, and then talk to us about the very beginning, specifically about Red Storm Volleyball and some of the obstacles that you had to overcome.
All right. Moving to Louisiana was huge. My first job was at a law office, and because that's where I was headed before you blew your knee out. And so I'm a volleyball coach instead of an attorney now. That's probably a God thing. But it was a difficult transition just to learn the difference in the law and try to figure that out in a new place where I really had one friend who was you. And
I'm glad that I was. Okay.
Yeah. And so I got connected with Brenda LeBlanc, who was the head coach at St. Joseph's Academy at the time. And she is still one of my biggest mentors and motivators. And she got me involved in the club volleyball scene with Volleyball Baton Rouge. Trusted me to, I started out with a 3rd level team to see if I was worth my salt. And we had a great time. And we exceeded expectations. Great group of girls. And Brenda believed in me and continued to move me up the ladder until 2002. They gave me a phenomenal team. We won a national championship and 3 national qualifiers along the way. And in the midst of that, in March of that season, we had Hannah. So that was interesting. And went on, Hannah was 4 months old. We won a national championship at the 15 and under USAB tournament.
She slept in the ball cart, by the way.
She
Yes.
did sleep in the ball cart and,
Yes.
and a lot of other very interesting places, as well as a number of times chewing people's chewed gum from the bleachers. Yeah.
Build that
And,
immune
and
system.
you
I
know,
got
she's rarely ever sick,
baby.
so
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. And so after that, being the coach at Dunham, Dunham was an up-and-coming program at the time, to say the least. When I took over, I was originally at Bishop Sullivan, which is now St. Michael, and I needed to start my own club because my kids couldn't make the club team that I was coaching for. And so Red Storm was born in the Dunham gym. We had one team that was absolutely atrocious. I think we had like 13s through 18s on this team, and we couldn't keep a ball in play to save our lives. But the kids believed in what we were doing, and they stuck it out. And the next year we had 3 teams. Then the next year we had 6 teams, and it grew, and we outgrew the Dunham gym, and we ended up over at what was Cap Elite. And then from Cap Elite, we went back to Dunham for a little while, and then Team Sportsplex was born. And the club really started to grow and flourish at that time. So that's kind of how it all came to pass, out of necessity and a love for the game and a passion for influencing young women.
So along the way, obviously you've coached, I mean, it's thousands of girls,
Yeah.
right? Thousands of girls. And obviously, you know, you've had different impacts on different ones, but I mean, you have coached everyone from a young lady who, you know, would struggle to make a freshman team somewhere to potentially a future Olympian. Can you talk about your ability to, and really the importance that you place on coaching every kid regardless of ability level?
Yeah, I think that comes from my personal experience as a player, right? Like, I was always undersized. I wasn't the fastest. I didn't jump the highest. And so learning to overcome those obstacles that I couldn't control by learning the game better, by working harder, by showing up early, you know, staying late, all the things that we're supposed to do as athletes. I was always told I would never play Division I volleyball by every club coach, high school coach I had. And by the way, I absolutely adore my high school coach. May she rest in peace. And I had phenomenal club coaches. But I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I know that's going to shock both of you to think.
You had? Was that
It's
it?
grown bigger. I had a little chip on my shoulder. Now I have a larger chip. So, you know, I was just gritty and determined. And the more they told me I couldn't, the more I wanted to. And I proved them wrong. And so now, I guess I always wanted to be looked at as like and this is how I describe it to my coaches when I tell them, like, when you get your teams in club, you look at those kids and they're an unfinished piece of art. Mm-hmm. How do you finish that? What does it look like when you're done? And that's how I wanted coaches to look at me. Not what I couldn't do, but what I could possibly do. And so when the kids come on the court, that's how I look at them. Like, if you're going to work hard, you're going to have a good attitude, you're going to treat your teammates right, you're going to do some of the intangibles, right? Then we can help make you as great as you want to be. And so that's just how I approach every single kid. You know,
that innate drive, desire, determination. First off, I got to know you when I was playing for him. Mm-hmm. That's something that I've always seen in you. Is that something that has just always been a fiber of your being? I assume the answer is yes. Like, you don't ever recall one moment in your life where suddenly a switch went off and you like, oh, you know what? I'm going to start crushing it and just giving my all day in and day out. That's just been a part of Donna Pixley since day one, I assume, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I don't remember being an infant, but from what I am told, I was not easy.
Yeah.
Then I started walking at 7 months old, and I'm pretty sure I was in a tree by 2 and harassing everybody I could harass and just being ornery. And I definitely came by it naturally because my mom instilled that in us.
Okay.
And
So
I
you-
have one sibling who is also a sister.
Okay.
So just surrounded by women, but she has a pistol for sure. And so it's, you are a product of your environment at some level,
Love that.
whether you
Love
want to
that.
be or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you that because before you stated what you just said about your mom, there would be people who go, okay, so you're born with it, right? Are you born that way? What would be your response to that? Where, I mean, do you believe you can take a player or, and it doesn't have to be just a player. It's anybody that you have influence over, right? Or anybody that's in your purview as far as being a leader for them or mentor for them. Do you feel like you can instill that into them if they don't have that?
Yes.
Do you think there's an age or a circumstance that will basically not allow that to happen?
No. I mean, every human being has free will, right? Like our life is a series of choices and decisions. And we get to make those decisions. Now, when you're young, in your environment, sometimes you don't have accessibility to things. You don't have parents who are telling you you can do anything you want to do. But at the end of the day, like there's so much that we can see on the outside and inspirational stories. I mean, who doesn't love to watch a 30 for 30 that's a kid who came from, the dregs of society and is now an all-star and is influencing other people. So what about that person, female, male, doesn't matter, made them rise above? And those were choices. That was a decision to not live the rest of their life like that. And so whether it happens at 10, 20, I think the older you get, the harder it is, right? With any habit, the longer you do it, the harder it is to break. But I think 100% you can put that in somebody who wants it. You can help them uncover it and develop it without a doubt.
I think I know the answer to this already. What's the biggest obstacle you have to overcome when trying to do that in today's world with a young athlete?
One, what's the biggest?
What's the biggest? I have one in mind, and I may not be thinking along the same lines, but
I mean, are you thinking just being a female, or are you thinking
no, just
as
an athlete in
humans
general.
in general,
Just an athlete
athletes
in general.
in general?
You're trying to instill this, drive and motivation into somebody. You have to overcome this above
Yourself.
all else.
You got to overcome yourself and the comparison factor.
I'm talking about you as a coach. You're trying to do that.
Parents.
There it is. Okay. Explain.
Oh yeah, parents. 100%. That is, it is the reason why we have so few coaches. Parents complain about coaches and why we don't have any good ones. Just walk in front of a mirror, right? And assess yourself as a parent. And how are you parenting? And what are you telling your children when they get in the car? And, so many parents live vicariously through their kids. So many parents are, and our kids are a reflection of us, right? But are embarrassed or get their self-worth from the accomplishments of their kids.
Are you seeing that more now than you did back when you first started coaching?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's more now?
I just think, well, ironically, you know how I kind of feel about social media
Yes.
and how it is used. I think comparison is the thief of all joy. I mean, that's not like my tagline, right? Like you hear it all the time, but there are so many more ways to compare my kid to your kid, right? If I'm following you on Facebook, the number of posts that you have, and you can post truths, semi-truths, no truth, right? And if I'm not going to take the time to investigate it and I'm going to take it at face value, I'm always catching up to somebody else. And as long as you're always catching up to somebody else in that way, it is negative.
Yeah.
Let's transition here a little bit. as a female in the athletic world, it is no secret that it's an uphill battle. And both as a coach, as a player, in both of those aspects, and really any involvement whatsoever. You've held several positions in the athletic world. You've been obviously a head coach. You've been a club director. You have been a great player. You've been an athletic director at a school. So you've held several different positions. Talk to us and really the viewers about some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome, and then how you use those obstacles to influence the people, the players that you come in contact with, especially your Red Storm program, and kind of segue into how important independence is when you are teaching these young female athletes about what it's going to take for them to be successful in whatever they choose, the things you've had to overcome, and then how you go about using those.
I think it's, and it has come a long way for females, 100%. I mean, if you take me back to my college days of how we traveled versus how Sanford basketball traveled, like, it's not even close.
So you had a pretty good comparison.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was the smallest kid on the team, so I rode 16 of us in a 12-passenger van. I got the hot seat in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat, where literally, like, my butt was on fire from the engine and that, just being on the road, versus they're flying. We're taking a van, then we're crammed in there. We went on a trip one time to Hammond, America, and we stayed in a hotel. And I went to my coach's room and I knocked on the door and I was like, "I'm not staying in here. Can I have the keys to the van, please?" She's like, "Where are you staying?" I was like, "I'm sleeping in the van." She was like, "What?" I was like, "This is not, like, livable." And so anyway, we all packed up the van and we moved to a new hotel. And I think, like, you create your standards and then you do everything you can to live up to those in your personal life and in front of others. So those were things that I could say happened to me that helped shape me, because I wasn't really in control of it. I was in control of the fact that I was not staying in that hotel room. Sort of. I mean, I guess she could have made me, really, at the end of the day. But I think for female, it's all about earning respect, right? And if you are going to stand up for yourself and your kids, and I mean, when I was an assistant coach first at Bishop Sullivan.
Yep.
And for 1 year, and then I became the head coach. And there would be times when we would have practice and the men's basketball team would come in and they would start dribbling the basketballs, and you've had experience with that, start dribbling the basketballs. We're in practice, right? So I can sit back as a female and take that and just think that's my place in the world, or I can address that. And I think you have to address it. People aren't going to like you when you do it. You cannot want or need to be liked in that situation, right? But those girls in that program saw me walk over and say that is unacceptable behavior. And we deserve the respect.
Those actions go so far with teaching them that, okay, just because things have been like this up to this point, that's not where life has to continue moving forward. I love that.
Right. And I think, you can look at it and go, well, you're not a winning program. Okay, well, in some cases, I could look at you and go, well, you're not either. You're just a male program that's not winning versus a female program that's not winning.
Touche.
But I think it can't be about the winning and the losing. It's, do I have respect for your program? Do you have respect for mine? And if you don't, then why not? And you have to demand and earn it every single day. And I think from a female looking at a male, it often appears that men don't have to earn it. It's just like, okay, well, they're walking into the gym, so they should have it. And I mean, it still happens. It still happens at the collegiate level. It happened at Sanford when we were there, and your coach would say, it's all right, just go out and shoot. That program doesn't matter. and you had a choice whether you went out and shot or
I
not.
didn't go shoot.
You didn't go shoot.
I didn't go
'cause-
shoot.
Yeah. He knew it was good for him. But
Sitting
so
here
I think
today.
just overcoming that in the role of athletic director, and there was an athletic director who was a female in place before me who I watched her fight the fight because, I watched her as my leader in that, and then taking it over and the way parents thought they could speak to me, railroad me, kind of manipulate things like I wasn't smart enough to figure it out. I've never been a male. I know that's, we could say that in this world now, I guess, because I could have been at one point. But
It's a good thing. Yeah.
no, I just don't know if that happens as easily to a man as it does to a woman. From what I've observed, it does not. But you have to take the hard stance on, we're not doing this, and this is who we are going to be, and you are not. Some men can't handle that. That's not my problem.
This is true, for sure. And when you say it's not your problem, okay, more importantly, it's not about whose problem it is. It's simply about what's right.
Correct.
And so, when you talk about having a chip on your shoulder that continues to grow, I would say you're being a little facetious, but you're not in totality, because do you still feel like you have to have that chip on your shoulder? Let me ask you this, is it more of a just in case chip, or is it one that you feel like is warranted to have still, just based on the way society is?
I just don't think it's ever going to go away. It's part of who I am. It's how I use it that has changed.
Explain.
Right? So early in my career, it created anger and animosity, and I alienated people by it. Right now, it is an awareness of what might be, to where I'm a little bit more in tune to it, and I use it a little bit more wisely now.
Okay. All right. When you say you use it a little more wisely now, and you mentioned something a while back about how the players and the girls that you coached, they would see how you would handle, like if the men's basketball team walk in and start shooting, right? When you say you use the chip on your shoulder a little more wisely now, how do you use it differently when influencing your athletes? From a standpoint of, is the messaging the same but the tone different? Is the messaging different altogether?
It's a little bit of both. The tone has definitely changed. I mean, if my players from early years of Dunham come back, they're like, "Coach, you've gotten so soft." And there is some truth to that, right? Because it wasn't always advantageous for me to be like that. I didn't always develop women in the way that I wanted to. Because like, if I wanted to develop a bunch of angry women, I was doing a really good job early on in my career, right?
Yeah.
And that's not that. It wasn't my intention. It was the product of my coaching for a while, until I had one particular year, and I was insanely negative. And thankfully, I had a group of girls who I gathered and was like, "Tell me about this last season." And they were like, "Coach, it was terrible. You were awful. You were so negative. I really wasn't sure if I wanted to play next year." And I was like, wow, okay. I had to start on this road of self-reflection of, am I proud of who I was last night? Who am I going to be tomorrow in response to that? And I think that really started to change the course of my coaching career, and how I communicated and how I used that chip on my shoulder in more of a positive way. I still screw it up. Once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. Depends on what kid you talk to, depends on the interaction that we have. But I'm definitely more of a pull you off to the side, have a conversation, instead of loud capping you in front of the group.
Yeah.
Right, to accomplish what needs to happen.
So let's bring everything from, what you've done with coaching, being in positions that you've held with more or less management. Kind of close things out to discuss parenting for a second. Because I've got two incredible daughters. We're fortunate and blessed. I will get to work with one of them over here, and in the future, if I never need any dental work, I'll be happy to just call Kaylin up and let her go to town on me. As you've raised your daughters, reflecting on how society has changed for the most part in a better way, how do you look back at raising them and seeing the values that you've instilled in them, the importance of independence? How do you see how well it's been received by them? And then also, do you find any pushback from, or did you find any pushback from other parents, other families, as you're raising them, that you're making them too independent, anything like that?
I mean, I think not making my own children independent, right? But trying to create independence in theirs, which I'm assuming is what you were referring to. I think it's really, this is going to sound strange, but almost different because we're in a very southern place, right? And I think that changes things. And Tampa being in the South is not really South like Baton Rouge is South.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have a bunch of
Florida's
Northerners and
totally
we're-
different world.
Yes,
Totally
it is
yeah.
a totally different world. And mind you, I went to a school that did not have football. So football was not king where I was.
That is a
Volleyball was
totally
king,
different world.
queen. I mean, we were the only thing in the fall that was super successful. So coming here, that was a huge transition for me. I was like, wait, what? I can't play a game on this night because there's a football game. I can't, wait, what? You know, that was a big learning curve for me. But I've had some pushback just from culturally, that's not how they wanted their daughters to necessarily be, right? That they were going to go to school and be in a sorority and find a husband and blah, 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 there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's mutually exclusive that you do go that route and not be
There's
independent.
not one specific mold. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can still be independent and
Do all
go
those
down
things.
that road. And so really, I think because my nature is forceful and aggressive and people refer to me as intimidating, it probably came off that I was trying to shove that down their throat. So there have been not many, but a few that have been like, you know, this is a little bit too much for us and our family and my daughter, which is fine. Everybody's got their thing. But I'm going back to the girls, my girls, our girls, from the get, like conversations about it, they were going to be independent. They were, this is going to sound terrible, never going to need a man. I wanted them to be with a man because they wanted to, not because they had to.
Yeah.
That was super important for me. And that's something that my mom always instilled in me, was, you know, you be you and find somebody who allows you to be you and be able to walk away if you need to walk away, that kind of thing. And so I wanted to train my girls up in that regard. But, you know, they were with me literally 24/7. They went to every volleyball tournament with me. They went, like, they traveled all over the world. Hannah especially. Ironically, she was 4 months old when we won the state championship. Kaylin was, when we won a national championship, and Kaylin was 4 months old when we won a state championship. Like almost to the day, it was kind of wild like that. But I mean, they were with me on the bench. I was doing things that was not the norm, that I am thankful that I was at Dunham. They allowed me to do and have them there. So they experienced all of my coaching and how I dealt with certain kids who had attitudes or who would just worked really hard and wanted things and saw the time that I put in. And funny story, when Hannah started dating her husband now, and he would want to buy her dinner or take her out or she was like, one of their biggest fights was she was like, no, I don't need you to pay for me. I'll pay for myself. I can take care of myself. And I mean, it was this huge, and he's looking at her like, I'm just trying to do something nice.
Yeah.
You know, like, why won't you let me do something nice? So that balance of you can be independent and still be cared for was something that I guess I didn't realize I wasn't teaching her, even though she was witnessing it in our home. She was hearing the power of independence, and wasn't connecting the dots that I would, yes, 100% independent, but I was also being cared for by a loving husband. And so, thankfully that she kind of recognized that and was like, okay, now she might be overboard. Like, give me your card, and he's turning the card off on his phone. He's like, all right, you can have it. And she goes, you probably turned it off, didn't you? And I'm like, smart
Ebb
man.
and flow, man.
Smart,
Ebb and flow.
smart man.
So I have one more thing I'd like to touch on here. We, a few episodes ago, did a podcast on relationships, and here at TLW, how we feel it is appropriate for men to treat women, and the importance of that, about how men treat women, and how that is not the way that it is supposed to be done, is not what is promoted in society or on social media or on TV or on movies or those things. You listened to that podcast, and it was interesting when we had the conversation after. You said, no, it was good, but there were some things that I would have shot some holes in. And I have been waiting for you to come on as a guest for several reasons, obviously, all the things we've already talked about. But one of the things is this, waiting to get your feedback on that. Because here's the deal. At the end of the day, Sean and I we are obviously not women. We do not know what it is like to be a woman, and we do not know what it feels like from that side of the fence. So tell us what you thought about it, and then give us your thoughts on what we missed.
So I think the first thing that struck a chord with me is you talked about, if a woman hits you, you don't hit her back. If a woman speaks disrespectfully, you don't speak disrespectfully back to her. I would agree with the first part, right? Because in general, men are bigger and stronger and more powerful and more domineering, in most cases. From a speaking to standpoint, that has to be a two-way street. Like, I think if I can talk to you however I want to, but as a man, you have to walk the fine line of always being super respectful. I think, to me, that's not a male or a female thing. That is a human nature. We are called to respect each other and love each other, even if we have a difference of opinion. That is not always well done. Clearly, it's not well done in our home all the time. Mm-hmm. We are both like rattlesnakes, so sometimes it's a little heated. But
I don't ever win, but it's okay. Yeah.
you win when you walk away.
That's right. Walk away. Yep.
No, I think it just like that just struck a little something in me that was like, oh, like why are we held to a different standard in that regard? It came across to me like that, and it just struck a chord with me. I think
ultimately what we were trying to get across, and it makes sense what you're saying, was that just because you're spoken to that way doesn't mean it's okay.
Retaliation's not
to respond that way.
Correct. Yeah. Both directions.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Both
correct.
directions.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Right. So, for me, it painted a picture of I'm just berating you, and you're like, okay, honey, because we have to be treated, like we're this fragile piece of glass, and we're not. We're fragile if we want to be fragile.
Right.
And we're strong if we want to be strong. And that's a decision that we make, right? And where we set our boundaries and what we're going to tolerate, same as men.
Okay. What else? What else did you feel like we might have miscommunicated? Like, it's important to us because obviously we tried to put across the right message. We actually got messaged by a couple of different females after that podcast with things that they didn't agree with, that we had to respond with and basically clean up. But it was good for us to get that because, obviously when we were speaking about this, look, it's not always taken like we think it should be taken, right?
Right. So you had made the comment, be respected, protected, and provided for, that we always needed to feel that. 100% agree. That is also a two-way street.
Okay.
That it may look different.
Explain.
But the premise of each is the same. I should respect you. you should respect me, and you should feel respected by me.
Right.
Protected. We should protect each other. Just because I can't maybe physically protect you doesn't mean I don't protect you in other ways, right? In words, people speaking about you in a certain way, we still can, even being physically weaker, protect. And I, even though you may not feel like you need to be protected, you probably want to be protected in some ways. You
Yeah.
know, like your wife is in a situation and somebody's talking about Dr. Owens and he did this and that, the other, you would want her to step up
Yeah.
for you.
Absolutely.
And that's protection,
Okay.
right? And provided for, whether that's monetary, in the home, in public, wherever that is, we have a responsibility to provide for our husbands as well. And that doesn't look like put an apron on, you
Right.
know, wear
That could just be
pearls,
emotional,
vacuum, and
yeah.
it's emotional, it's physical in, you know, a number of different ways. And I think that's a two-way street. And so I do think the Bible calls for men to do those things for women, but we are also called to do it differently in the Bible. So that struck a chord. Your locker room talk,
Okay.
I thought was on point, right? The flip side of that locker room talk for me is you don't want to be the topic of discussion in the locker room.
So go through real quick for those who may not have watched.
So you talked about, you know, guys talking about females in the locker room in a negative light, and a lot of those stories are embellished, not true, because I mean, society says you're a stud if you do this, and you're less than on the female side if you do that, right?
Yep.
I mean, that is the societal view. And so women also have a choice. Like, you could go in the locker room. I may not have done anything. You can go in the locker room and talk about me if you want to, right? But if I have led on in any way, shape, or form that I might be willing
Right.
to do that, I have opened the door for that conversation. So the conversation in our locker room is, what are you doing to make you the topic
That makes sense.
of discussion?
Yeah.
And once you open that door to that, you will always wonder where your value comes from when it comes to a man. And so we as females have almost as much responsibility to not create the scenario where that can happen as you guys have the responsibility to not talk about it in the locker room.
So before we get to, were there any other areas?
I think just, you know, men need to be educated, women need to be educated too. If you want to dress like this, it doesn't make you that, but perception is reality, right?
Right.
So you talked about dressing provocatively, even if a woman dresses provocatively. So it doesn't make it right for her to be treated a certain way, but she is inviting that into her life, and she isn't setting the boundaries and earning the respect that she may want, right? Like, at the end of the day, she may want the attention from men. It's the wrong attention. And it leaves her always second guessing her self-worth and value, and, you know, why does he love me? Why is he dating me if that's the case? So I think on the flip side of that, if we educated females as much as we talk about educating males, then we meet in the middle and we're a whole lot better together.
So that all goes back, though, to what you originally talked about, where it is necessary for the education and of independence to females, where, like you did with our daughters, we want you to be in a relationship with a male at some point in time if you want to, but you don't have to, and you don't need anyone to allow you to have a quality of life that you desire. That all goes back to that, right? Because the reason why females would choose to present themselves that way oftentimes is to get the attention from males, right? And if they were taught, look, they're there yes. And if you want a relationship with one and it's the right one, that absolutely we're all for it. But not the wrong. You don't need to get the wrong attention from them to
Correct.
begin with.
Yeah. Let them like you and then love you for who you are, not what you'll do.
Wow,
That's strong.
pretty powerful.
That's pretty strong.
Anything else? Anything else we missed? Because again,
Those are my main points.
that was it. Okay. We're going to close here in a moment, but before I do, and we do here on the podcast, I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay.
All right.
Which is not abnormal, right? If you had to give advice in, I don't know, a handful of sentences max to a mother raising daughters, okay, and that in today's society, if you want your daughter to have a chance to be independent but allowed to be cared for at the same time, you mentioned that, right? What would you tell them?
First thing I would say is you're not their friend. You cannot be their friend. Because as soon as you're their friend when they're 12, 13, 11, 16, it's harder for you to help them set boundaries that you want them to set. Because now I want her to be happy. I want her to be happy all the time. That's not a reality. And I think parents today want their kids to be happy all the time. And so I would say, let her be uncomfortable.
You see it in the athletic world all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, she's not happy because, okay, well, what can she do about it? We take the reins out of their hands and we give them to some other people, and those people don't have them or shouldn't, right? So I would say, don't be her friend. Help her learn how to set healthy boundaries, not just with men, but with friends, people in general. Push her out of her comfort zone often.
What does that look like? Give me an example.
Make them do things that they don't want to do so that they can understand they can finish it. Right. Hannah was soccer camp. Like when she was, I don't know, 6. And
She hated soccer.
She
Oh,
hated
my
it.
gosh.
And we signed up for this week-long soccer camp, and she was like, I don't want to go back tomorrow. I was like, sorry,
bad.
Buttercup. I will sit in that car with my AC on, and I will watch you out there at soccer camp. And she finished that week, and she'll tell you about it today. But you start teaching them at an early age that they are going to have to overcome things that they don't like.
That's what's the growth that occurs from going through those moments. I mean, you can't put a price on, as you do that more and more and more, where that leads you to as you get older.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just find, I mean, in the athletic, you're not getting what you want, we'll just go to another team.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just quit. You don't want to go back to camp tomorrow, you don't have to go back to camp tomorrow. They'll just flush $300 like it's nothing so their kid can be happy and sit at home on their iPad all day. Which, I mean, what are we teaching them? Right. So, I mean, those would probably be my top 3, and there's a whole bunch of things that fall under that.
Amazing stuff from an amazing leader in our community here. Thank you, by the way, for joining us, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Thank you for having me.
And to our viewers, we will sign off here. This has been another episode of the TLW podcast. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. Go get it.